Have you ever whispered a thought into the quiet, and then days later felt like the world answered you back? Maybe a stranger said something that hit you deeply. Maybe a song came on at the exact moment you needed its words. Maybe a door opened or a door closed, and somehow it was just what had to happen. These are not accidents. There's a hidden intelligence moving through all things. Some call it God. Others call it source, spirit, or simply the universe. No matter the name, it is alive, awake, and always listening. But here's the truth most people miss. The universe does not speak English, or Spanish, or any human tongue. It speaks a deeper language, older than words, closer than breath. This language is silent. It flows through feeling, vibration, attention, and intention. It's the pulse behind reality. It's the energy behind events. It is not loud. It never shouts. But it is always there, waiting for us to remember how to hear it again. The first step in speaking to the universe is understanding that you already are. Every thought you think, every emotion you hold, every word you speak. It all ripples out into a field of energy that surrounds you. This field is alive. It is interactive. It shapes itself around what you focus on, what you believe, and most importantly, what you feel. Most people are sending out signals without realizing it. They speak in worry and wonder why they get more to worry about. They speak in fear and draw more fear to them. They speak in lack and continue to find empty places. This is not punishment. This is reflection. The universe mirrors back the energy you put into it. Not just what you say, but what you mean, what you expect, what you truly believe. You see, the universe hears your energy, not your words. If you say, "I want peace," but you are radiating tension, the universe responds with tension. If you say, "I want love," but deep down you feel unworthy of it, the signal is mixed, and so is the answer. It's like trying to call someone on the phone while holding the receiver upside down. The connection is fuzzy. The message is distorted. The answer doesn't come clearly, not because the other side isn't listening, but because you're not tuned in the right way. So how do you tune in? You start by becoming aware of your inner frequency. Every emotion you feel carries a vibration. Gratitude, joy, calm. These create clear signals. They open you up. They harmonize your energy with the greater flow of life. Fear, doubt, jealousy. These create noise. They fog the signal. They block the flow. This doesn't mean you should fake positivity. The universe is not fooled by performance. What it responds to is authenticity, honesty, alignment. If you're in pain, speak from the truth of that pain, but do it with the intention of healing, not just repeating the wound. If you're in confusion, speak it out, but ask for clarity with a heart open to receive. What matters is the emotional charge behind your voice. That's the real message. Remember, energy is the real language of the universe. When your thoughts, feelings, and intentions line up, you become a clear signal. The universe receives it, and it responds. Not always in the way you expect, but always in the way you need. Sometimes the response is immediate. Sometimes it arrives slowly, carried by a sequence of events. Sometimes it takes the shape of a person, a book, a sudden insight. And yes, sometimes it speaks through silence, inviting you to go deeper. But it always answers. Always. You don't need to be a mystic or a monk to feel this. You just need to pay attention. Start noticing what happens when you shift your energy. Watch how the world reflects your inner state. Be curious. Be gentle. Be open. Try this. At the end of the day, sit in silence for just 5 minutes. Reflect on how you felt. Not just what you did. What was your inner tone? What story did you tell the world through your energy? Then ask yourself, what came back to me? What showed up that matched that tone? You'll start to see the patterns. You'll start to hear the whisper behind events. And slowly you'll remember, you are not alone in this life. You are not talking into emptiness. You are in a constant, living dialogue with something vast and wise. Something that knows you better than you know yourself. Something that waits for you to become aware of the conversation already happening. Speaking with the universe begins here, not with trying to force a reply, but with listening for the response already forming. It begins when you shift from asking, "Is anyone out there?" to understanding. Someone always was. The question is, will you slow down long enough to hear it? Speaking to the universe is not a rare spiritual talent. It's a natural human ability. But just like any language, it requires some learning, and the most powerful place to begin is in learning how to ask a question. Most people ask without realizing they're not really asking. They're doubting, they're complaining, they're echoing confusion rather than reaching for clarity. And so, they receive back more confusion, more noise, more what they already feel. To speak with the universe and receive an answer, your question must be clear. Not just clear in words, but clear in energy and feeling, in intention. Let's look at an example. If you say, "Why does nothing ever work out for me?" That's not truly a question. It's a declaration of defeat. The universe hears the emotion behind the words, not just the sentence itself. In this case, it hears hopelessness. It hears frustration. It reflects that back. Instead, imagine asking, what part of me is afraid of this change and how can I gently support it? Or what truth am I not seeing yet and how can I open my heart to it? These are real questions. Open, willing, honest. The energy behind them is different. They're not rooted in blame or fear. They're invitations. And the universe responds to invitation. The key is to ask not from panic, but from presence. When your mind is racing, when you're filled with stress or anger, it's hard to hear anything true. In that state, your question is clouded. It comes from reaction, not reflection. So before asking, pause. Breathe. Get quiet enough to hear yourself clearly. Sometimes you'll find the question you were about to ask wasn't really your question at all. It was a habit, an echo from the past, something you learned to say when you felt powerless. Take time to feel the real question underneath. Ask with your whole being, not just with your lips, but with your attention, with your heart, with your energy. A good question is like an open window. It invites the breeze in. A bad question is like a closed room with the curtains drawn. No matter how much you yell, nothing gets through. And remember, the universe answers not just what you ask, but how you ask it. If you ask, "Will I ever be loved?" you're telling the universe you already believe you're not. That's the energy behind the words. And the universe, which mirrors you, can only reflect that sense of lack. Try instead, "How can I open to the love that is already seeking me?" Or, "What do I need to learn in order to welcome real love into my life?" Feel the difference? These questions assume that love is possible, that growth is possible, that guidance is near. The way you frame your question shapes the answer you're able to hear. Here's another secret. Asking the right question sometimes takes patience. You might need to sit with it, journal, walk, listen. Let the question come through you, not just from you. A rushed question rarely holds power. A deep question comes from stillness. And once you've asked, let go. This is one of the hardest parts. Most people ask and then obsess. They check their life like they're checking a tracking number on a package. Did the answer come yet? Where is it? Why hasn't it arrived? But answers don't arrive through control. They arrive through trust. Once you ask, let it echo into the silence. Live your life with openness. Stay alert but not desperate. Let the answer take the shape it needs to. It may not come in the way you expect, but it will come. And here's something even more beautiful. The question itself is already an answer. The moment you can ask a real, honest, aligned question, you've already changed. You've already opened. You've already stepped into a conversation with the infinite. The question is the doorway. The answer is what walks through. So, how do you ask the universe the right way? You begin with respect, not fear, not demand, but the quiet knowing that you are not speaking into nothingness. You are speaking into a field of love and intelligence that longs to meet you. Then, you shape your question with care. Make it open. Make it willing. Let it be real. Don't ask from pain alone. Ask from the part of you that wants to heal. Don't ask from fear alone. Ask from the part of you that wants to trust. That shift in energy is everything. And once you've asked, don't chase the answer. Let it come. Watch. Wait. Walk gently. Sometimes it will arrive in a dream. Sometimes in a book you didn't plan to read. Sometimes in conversation, a memory, or a sudden peace that falls over you without reason. And sometimes the answer is not a sentence, but a knowing, a change in direction, a feeling that you're not the same as you were when you asked. You are learning to speak a sacred language. You are learning to hear what most people miss. And in doing so, you are entering into a deeper kind of life, one where every step, every breath, every question becomes a path to something greater. The universe listens to those who ask with a true heart. Ask well, and the answers will come. You've asked your question. You've sent your signal into the silence. And now, the universe begins to respond. But here's where most people miss it. They expect a voice in the sky, a miracle, a message written in bold letters. They expect the answer to arrive in the way they imagine it should. But the universe doesn't work that way. Its answers are not always loud. They're often quiet, gentle, symbolic. They arrive through the fabric of daily life, woven into the ordinary, carrying extraordinary meaning. The universe speaks through signs. But to understand them, you have to know what to look for. Signs are not just random moments. They are responses wrapped in life's details. A phrase on a billboard that echoes your thoughts. A song that plays just as you're thinking of someone. A bird that lands nearby when you're deep in worry. A sudden pause in time where everything feels different, charged with presence. These are not accidents. These are echoes, reflections, replies. Let's say you ask the universe, should I pursue this path? And then, without planning it, you keep hearing the same message in different forms. A podcast guest talks about following intuition. A friend tells you about a leap of faith they took. A book falls open to a passage about courage. These are signs. They don't tell you what to do, but they surround you with alignment. They guide you softly. They light up a direction, like gentle lanterns on a path. But you must be paying attention. The reason most people miss these signs is because their minds are too noisy. They're scrolling, rushing, doubting. They live in constant distraction. In that state, even the loudest whisper from the universe goes unheard. To hear the signs, you need presence. You need to slow down, to soften your gaze, to tune your senses to something more subtle. You also need to trust your inner feeling. Signs are not just what you see, but what stirs in you when you see it. You might notice a feather on the ground and feel nothing. But another time, you see a similar feather and something deep in you stirs. It's not about the object. It's about the moment, the energy, the resonance. That inner response is your compass. Your heart knows the message even if your mind doesn't understand it yet. Some signs come in dreams. Dreams are sacred space. In sleep, the ego rests and the spirit listens. Many answers arrive this way, symbolic, poetic, layered. Don't rush to analyze your dreams logically. Sit with them, feel them, ask what they're showing you. The same is true for nature. Nature is the oldest messenger. Watch how it speaks. The sudden gust of wind when you feel stuck. The rainbow after storm. The way animals cross your path or plants bloom in your view. The world outside mirrors the world within. And then there are people. The universe often speaks through others, especially those who don't know they're carrying a message. A stranger might say something in passing that hits you with precision. A friend might call at the exact moment you needed comfort. This is not chance. This is synchronicity. Carl Jung described synchronicity as a meaningful coincidence, a moment where inner experience and outer reality align without direct cause. These are sacred moments. They are proof that life is not random, that something is listening, that something is speaking back. To recognize these signs, you must become a listener. This doesn't mean becoming superstitious or seeing messages in everything. It means becoming sensitive, awake, open. Ask yourself, what keeps repeating? Repetition is one of the universe's favorite ways to speak. If you keep hearing the same phrase, seeing the same number, encountering the same emotion, it's time to pause. What is being shown to you? What part of your life is this pointing to? And just as signs come to guide you, they also come to warn. Sometimes the universe says, not this way. You feel it as a gut pull, a heaviness, a sudden block, a delay that keeps happening, a discomfort that won't leave. Don't ignore these. The absence of flow is also a message. The universe isn't trying to trap you in fear. It's trying to guide you toward truth. It will sometimes close doors, not to punish, but to redirect. It will sometimes remove people, not out of cruelty, but protection. The signs are there to support your path, not control it. And you can always ask for confirmation. If you receive a sign but you're unsure, ask, if this message is true, show me again. Make it clearer. The universe is not annoyed by your questions. It welcomes your desire to align, but be willing to accept the answer, even if it challenges you. Sometimes we don't want to see the sign because we already know what it's telling us. We pretend not to notice. We tell ourselves it's nothing. But the truth is, we always know. Deep down, we feel it. And that's the key. Recognizing the language of the universe isn't about learning new symbols. It's about remembering your original language, feeling, intuition, presence. You were born with this ability. As a child, you listened, you noticed, you lived in wonder. The signs were everywhere, and they still are. They never stopped. You just stopped seeing. Now is the time to remember. Open your eyes, not just to the world, but to the mystery behind the world. Open your heart, not just to people, but to the intelligence that holds all things. Walk slowly, watch gently, listen deeply. The universe is not silent. It is speaking in every moment. The question is, are you watching closely enough to understand? You've asked your question. You've started to notice the signs. But the conversation with the universe is not complete unless you learn how to receive. Receiving is not passive. It's not just waiting. It's not sitting back, hoping the answer will land in your lap. Receiving is active. It's a state you prepare for, a state you align with, a state of being that requires care, presence, and openness. Imagine a radio. You can turn it on, raise the volume, but unless it's tuned to the right frequency, you won't hear the broadcast. The same is true for you. The universe is always sending out signals. But if your inner frequency is full of static, fear, stress, doubt, you'll miss the message. So how do you tune yourself to receive? It begins with silence. Stillness is the sacred ground where clarity grows. In silence, you begin to hear what lies beneath the noise. Not just the world's noise, but your own. The thoughts that spin, the worries that repeat, the stories you tell yourself over and over. When you become still, you start to see these patterns. You start to realize which ones serve you and which ones keep you closed. Start small. Even 5 minutes of silence each day can shift your whole vibration. Sit, breathe, let the surface of your mind calm, like water settling after a storm. In that stillness, something deeper emerges, a presence, a softness, a space where answers can land. Next, clear your emotional space. Emotions are powerful. They're the energy that shapes your frequency. When you hold on to fear, guilt, resentment, or shame, it clouds your field. It distorts your ability to feel truth. It blocks your natural sensitivity. You don't need to push emotions away. That only hides them. Instead, welcome them, feel them fully, and then release. Cry, journal, move your body, speak to a trusted friend. Do what helps you express and cleanse. Because when your emotional body is clear, your inner world becomes more open, and openness is the signal the universe responds to. Another way to tune your frequency is through the breath. Your breath is not just air, it's life force. It's spirit in motion. When you breathe deeply and consciously, you bring yourself into the now. You quiet the thinking mind. You open the heart. Try this. Close your eyes, breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for 4, breathe out for 6. Do this for a few minutes. Feel how your body softens. Your mind clears. Your energy begins to shift. This is the doorway. From this place, you're no longer demanding answers. You're becoming a vessel for them, a receiver, a quiet field where wisdom can land without resistance. Gratitude is another powerful tuner. When you focus on what you already have, when you speak thanks from your heart, you raise your frequency instantly. Gratitude tells the universe, I am open, I am ready, I trust. Even in difficulty, find one thing to thank life for: a breath, a sunrise, a lesson. Gratitude doesn't deny pain, but it invites healing. It softens a grip of fear. It expands a space for truth to enter. Now, let's talk about boundaries. Preparing yourself to receive also means protecting your energy. Be mindful of who you spend time with, what you consume, what you say yes to. Not all noise comes from within. Some of it comes from outside. If your days are full of constant stimulation, news scrolling, shallow conversations, it's hard to hear anything deeper. Choose moments of quiet. Choose people who nourish your soul. Choose practices that reconnect you to your essence. This is not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. And that's the heart of tuning your frequency, living on purpose. Don't just let your mood be shaped by the world. Shape it from within. Start your day with care. Light a candle. Speak a prayer. Stretch. Walk in nature. Do something each morning that says to the universe, I am here. I am listening. I am ready. This shifts everything. You move from reaction to creation, from chasing answers to allowing them, from feeling lost to feeling supported, even before the answer comes. And finally, be patient. Alignment takes time. Some days your frequency will be clear. Other days it won't. That's okay. You are human. This journey is not about getting it right every time. It's about returning again and again to your center. The more you practice, the more sensitive you become. The more sensitive you become, the more you hear. And what once felt like silence becomes a rich symphony of subtle guidance, showing up in thoughts, sensations, feelings, synchronicities. You begin to realize that the answers were never far away. They were always waiting, just on a frequency you hadn't tuned into yet. So breathe, soften, align. You are not here to force. You are here to receive. And as you do, the universe begins to flow through you, not just with answers, but with presence, power, and peace. You've asked your question. You've opened your heart. You've watched for signs. Tune your frequency. Listen with care. And still nothing. No clear reply. No sudden insight. Just silence. This is where many people give up. They think something went wrong, that they failed, that the universe isn't listening. But this moment, this silence, is not a failure. It is part of the conversation. The silence of the universe is not rejection. It is refinement. It is not punishment. It is presence without words. Sometimes silence is the answer. In our world, we are trained to crave immediacy. We want clarity now. We want confirmation now. We want the next step to appear the moment we ask for it. But spiritual timing moves by a different rhythm. It does not rush. It moves in deep, unseen ways. And often, when nothing is showing on the surface, the most profound work is happening underground. Think of a seed. When it is planted in the soil, nothing seems to happen for a while. Days pass, weeks sometimes. There's no sign of movement. But within the darkness, deep below, the seed is changing. It's cracking open. It's reaching for something it cannot see. And only later does it rise. This is how spiritual answers often arrive. They begin invisibly. They unfold in stillness. And the silence you fear is actually a sacred space of transformation. But still, silence can feel heavy. It can bring doubt. So what do you do when the answer doesn't come? First, breathe. Don't panic. Don't assume the worst. Just because you can't hear a reply doesn't mean it's not forming. The universe speaks not only in messages, but in timing. Sometimes, it waits until you are ready to receive. Not ready in desire, but ready in depth, in stability, in soul maturity. There are truths that only arrive when you're strong enough to carry them. So ask yourself, am I truly ready to hear the answer? Even if it's not what I hoped for? Even if it requires change? Sometimes we're not waiting for the answer. The answer is waiting for us. Second, explore the silence. Instead of fighting it, enter it. Let it be your teacher. Sit with it like you would sit with a wise friend who speaks few words. Listen not for noise, but for presence. Feel what the silence is showing you. Often, it reveals things we've ignored, fears we haven't faced, stories we still carry, attachments we haven't released. The absence of a voice can be the beginning of inner vision. You start to feel your own heart more clearly. You begin to notice the background noise of your thoughts. You become aware of how much you seek outside validation. And in that awareness, a quiet strength starts to grow. The strength to stand still. The strength to trust. The strength to keep walking even when the road is hidden. Third, return to beauty. When the universe seems silent, beauty becomes your bridge. Watch the sunset. Sit by trees. Listen to music that moves your soul. These are not distractions. They are sacred echoes. They reconnect you to the part of life that flows, even when nothing makes sense. You may not get the answer you wanted, but in beauty, you remember there is still meaning, still grace, still guidance in every breath. Fourth, ask new questions. Maybe the question you asked wasn't aligned. Maybe it was rooted in fear or control. The silence could be saying, ask again, go deeper. Don't ask from ego, ask from essence. Instead of when will I get what I want, try what is life trying to teach me here, or how can I open myself more fully to truth? These are questions that create space. They don't demand, they invite. Fifth, trust the in-between. This is the hardest part. The space between the asking and the answer. It feels like a void, but the void is not empty. It is full of potential, full of unseen movement, full of the next chapter writing itself behind the curtain. In this space, your faith is tested. Not blind faith, but active trust. Trust is not passive. It's a daily choice. A commitment to walk forward, even when you can't see the path. To live as if the answer is on its way. To stay aligned, even in the absence of signs. This is how you prove you're ready. Not to the universe, but to yourself. And sometimes, when you finally let go of the need for the answer, it arrives. Not because you gave up, but because you grew up. Because you no longer needed certainty to feel connected. You no longer needed control to feel safe. You began to understand that you are never truly waiting. You are always becoming. Finally, remember this. The universe's silence is not emptiness. It is a sacred mirror. It shows you who you are when there is nothing to lean on but your own inner voice. It strips away the noise so you can hear the whisper. It pulls you into stillness so you can find your center. And in that center, you discover something you have forgotten, that you are not just a seeker of answers. You are the space in which the answers appear. You are the stillness in which clarity returns. You are the listener and the listened to. So when the answer is silence, don't turn away. Lean in, and you will find that what feels like absence is really the beginning of a deeper presence. One that says, without words, you are already guided. You're already held. You're already home. Speaking with the universe is not a one-time event. It is not just for a moment of crisis or big decisions. It's meant to be a way of living, a sacred rhythm, a quiet partnership, a steady conversation that moves through every part of your life. The truth is, the universe is not just something you visit when you need help. It's something you walk with, something you live with, something you learn to trust like a close friend, like a wise guide, like a silent witness who is always near. Once you begin to recognize that life is alive with intelligence, that everything is connected, that nothing is truly random, you begin to live differently. You slow down. You pay attention. You start to treat each day as part of a dialogue rather than a struggle. This is the path of spiritual companionship. So, how do you live an ongoing conversation with the universe? It begins with intention. Start each day with a simple greeting, a word of thanks, a breath of presence. You don't need special rituals or long prayers, just a quiet moment of connection. I'm here. I'm listening. Guide me. These small openings shape the tone of your day. When you live with intention, life begins to respond in kind. Next, carry awareness. Throughout your day, stay alert, not in tension, but in sensitivity. Pay attention to how you feel, to what shifts around you, to who enters your path. Let your life become a living oracle. Let it speak to you through symbols, timing, encounters, resistance, flow. Every moment has something to say. The delays, the surprises, the patterns, they are all part of the conversation. When something goes wrong, ask, what is this trying to show me? When something flows with ease, ask, what is this confirming? You are not just reacting anymore. You are listening. You are dancing with the rhythm of life instead of forcing it into a shape. Also, speak back. The conversation is not one way. The universe listens to you, but also longs to be heard by you. When something beautiful happens, say thank you. When something hard happens, say, I'm willing to learn. When you don't know what to do, say so. Speak aloud. Whisper it. Write it down. Let your soul have a voice in this world. Journaling is one of the most powerful tools here. Keep a notebook just for this dialogue. Each day, write to the universe like you would write to a friend. Ask questions. Share thoughts. Then wait. Listen. Write what comes. Don't judge it. Don't edit it. Just let the response flow through you. Over time, you'll notice a pattern, a voice, a tone, not outside you, but within you, deeper than your usual thinking. It may feel like intuition, inspiration, a higher self. Call it what you will. It is the universe speaking through your own clarity. You will also begin to live with trust. And this is where everything changes. You begin to let go of the need to control every outcome. You start to walk by faith, not by fear. Not blindly, but with awareness. You learn to say yes to mystery, yes to uncertainty, yes to life as a living force that loves you. And in this trust, synchronicity becomes normal. You think of someone and they call. You feel a nudge to take a certain road, and it leads you to something unexpected. You ask a question, and the answer arrives in a way you never imagined. Life starts to flow, not always easily, but meaningfully. And when things feel off, you don't panic. You pause. You realign. You listen. This is the essence of a spiritual life. Not a life without problems, but a life where every problem carries wisdom, where every moment is part of your growth, where you are never truly lost, because even the detours have direction. And one day, you realize you are never alone, not just in belief, but in experience. You feel it in the quiet moments, in the way your heart knows things your mind can't explain, in the way life holds you, guides you, surprises you. The universe becomes not just an idea, but a presence, a companion, a sacred partner in your becoming. And this is not for special people. This is not for the chosen few. This is for anyone who is willing to listen, willing to trust, willing to remember, because this conversation never ends. It deepens, it evolves, it becomes a foundation of your life, not separate from your work, your relationships, your routines, but woven into all of it. So live like every moment matters. Speak like someone is listening. Listen like someone is speaking. And know that every breath, every step, every choice is part of something greater. You are not alone. You are part of the great rhythm, the great heart, the great voice of the universe. And it has always been speaking to you. Now, finally, you are speaking back.